Africa, the cradle of humanity, the land of sunlight and rivers, of gold and diamonds, of oil and uranium, stood tall as a mother who fed the world, yet was left starved. They say the tree that bears the sweetest fruit often suffers the most ants upon its branches. Africa bore the world's sweetness, yet our branches were stripped bare. When the colonial masters finally lowered their flags and departed, they told Africa that she was free. But was she? Freedom, whispered the wise, is not the absence of chains, but the presence of power. For what was called freedom often turned out to be freedom, a gift wrapped in light but filled with shadow, a false gift, a trick, a package wrapped in the colors of liberation but filled with the poison of dependency. They said, the slave who cannot see his chains dances to the tune of his master. The colonial masters handed Africa an apparent victory, but designed it to be a perpetual defeat. So today, we ask without fear of favor, without any apology, did Africa truly win freedom, or was she merely handed freedom, the cleverly crafted illusion of liberation?
Strength of Africa TV presents
They raised the flags, we sang the song, but the chains were hidden in the loam. They took the gold, they left the throne, and called it freedom, but we know our heroes fell for truth and land. Their blood still stains the master's hand. But now the children understand. This time we take a stand. Is it freedom?
Good morning,
or freedom
good afternoon,
again?
and good evening. Depending on where you are at this moment, I'm your host, Adebayo Oladokun, and this is Strength of Africa TV, where truth meets courage, where the past is reawakened and the future of the motherland is reclaimed. Today's episode is titled Freedom or Freedom, the Colonial Masters Gift to Africa. When the Europeans left, they did not leave empty-handed. They took Africa's wealth, Africa's blood, Africa's sweat, Africa's soul. Yet, they handed back flags, anthems, and Western-made constitutions. They called it independence. Independence without control is merely ceremony. When your economy is still controlled by foreign companies, is that independence? When your currency is printed in Paris, is that independence? When your minerals are mined by foreigners, shipped away, and sold back to you as finished products, is that independence? This was the colonial master's gift, a ribbon tied around servitude. The master stepped out of the house, but left his chains fastened to the foundation. They say, the snake that sheds its skin is still the same serpent until it changes its nature. They made Africa believe that she had won, but the game had only changed levels. In 1960, the year of Africa, 17 nations raised new flags. But almost immediately, France, Britain, Belgium, and Portugal ensured that companies from their countries retained control of the mines, the oil fields, and the trade routes. The so-called exit was carefully calculated to preserve economic dominance. Freedom is freedom without power. Freedom is a flag without factories. Freedom is a national anthem sung in a country whose resources are controlled by others. Freedom is when you have a seat at the United Nations but no voice that matters in the Security Council. Freedom is when you elect your president but his policies are dictated by the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank. Freedom is when your sovereignty is signed away through loans, debts, and structural adjustments that strangle your economy. Freedom is the modern form of slavery. It is slavery with a flag, with a constitution, with a vote. But without true control of destiny. The CFA used in 14 African countries is still guaranteed and controlled by the French Treasury. To this day, African states using the CFA must deposit 50% of their reserve in Paris. This is not freedom. It is freedom in economic form. So, my fellow African, what did this cost Africa? It cost us development. It cost us unity. It cost us our heroes. Think of Patrice Lumumba, who dreamed of a Congo free and prosperous, but was assassinated because he refused to be a puppet. Think of Thomas Sankara, who said, "He who feeds you controls you," and tried to make Burkina Faso self-sufficient, only to be eliminated by the same system. Think of Muammar Gaddafi, who envisioned a United States of Africa, a gold-backed currency, a continent that no longer begged for aid, but it too was destroyed. Freedom does not tolerate true freedom. It crushes leaders who dare to ask questions. It manipulates elections. It funds wars. It imposes sanctions. It uses death as a weapon. And so, Africa has spent decades dancing to the music of foreign powers while believing she was free. The International Monetary Fund and the World Bank imposed structural adjustment programs in the 1980s and 1990s, cutting education, healthcare, and jobs. Africa's debt stock soared to over $300 billion by the year 2000. Much of its interest on old loans, while Africa holds 30% of the world's mineral reserves. It receives less than 5% of global resource revenues. But a new generation is asking questions. The youth are demanding answers. They see through the lies of the free dump. They are tired of continents so rich yet portrayed as poor. They are tired of leaders who kneel before foreign powers while their people starve. They are tired of a system where Africa exports raw materials and imports poverty. They are tired of borders drawn in Berlin that keep Africans divided while foreigners stay united against them. The youth are demanding real freedom, a freedom that controls its land, its resources, its destiny. A freedom that is not begged for, but claimed. This is the Africa of tomorrow, an Africa that defines freedom, not by Western standards, but by African reality. Today, countries like Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger have expelled foreign troops and are seeking new alliances built on sovereignty. Ghana is attempting to process more of its cocoa locally, breaking dependence on raw exports. Kenya is leading in mobile innovation, showing that Africa can invent and lead. This is awakening in action. And now, to our brothers and sisters in the diaspora, you are scattered by slavery, displaced by history, and separated by oceans. Yet, you remain African. The system of freedom tried to erase your identity, but it could not erase your blood. You have a role in this awakening. You have technology, capital, knowledge, and networks that must be reconnected to the continent. The motherland needs her children, and her children need the motherland. Together, we can break the chains of freedom and build a new world. The African diaspora remits over $95 billion a year back to the continent, more than all foreign aid combined. This is power that must be organized, that must be harnessed, channeled, and directed into Africa's development, rather than lost in fragmentation. True freedom is not a gift. It is not handed over by colonial masters. True freedom is seized, it is demanded, it is defended. True freedom means Africa must control our currencies, our resources, our politics, and her security. True freedom means a Pan-African unity that renders divide and rule powerless. True freedom means standing on our own terms, not the terms written in foreign capitals. True freedom means declaring that Africa is no longer the playground of empires, but the builder of our own future. In 1963, the founding of the Organization of African Unity, now the African Union, was a declaration that Africa's future belonged to Africans. But today, the African Continental Free Trade Area, the largest trade bloc in the world by membership, holds the promise of a united economic front that colonial powers cannot easily manipulate. So, let us return to the question: African independence, was it freedom or freedom? It was freedom. It was a gift that was never a gift that kept Africa down while pretending to lift her up. It was a gift that mocked our struggles, our blood, and our sacrifices. But today, that era is ending. Africa is awakening. The people are rising. The diaspora is returning. And the chains of freedom are being shattered. To the colonial masters, who thought their game would last forever, hear this clearly. Africa will no longer dance to your drums. Africa will be free. Not freedom, but totally free. This is the hour of rebirth. This is the time of reclaiming. This is the season of power. Africa will not be begging at tables it built. Africa will sit at the head of her own table. True freedom is not given, it is taken. And Africa is taking it back. Remember, Africa loses over $88 billion each year through illicit financial flows, money stolen by corporations and shifted to foreign banks. Yet, the same Africa is called poor. It is not poverty, it is plunder. The age of freedom is ending because Africans are recognizing these truths. The numbers do not lie. The resources are here. The people are ready. And the future is ours. I'm your host, Adebayo Oladoku, and this is the Strength of Africa TV. If you found value in this conversation, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Deezer. Watch out for the next episode. You don't want to miss it. Until then, tell your own story, because Africa's future is written in African ink. Stay rooted, stay bold, stay African. Thank you for watching and see you in the next episode. Thank you and bye for now.
They raised the flags, we sang the song, but the chains were hidden in the loam. They took the gold, they left the throne, and called it freedom, but we know our heroes fell for truth and land. Their blood still stains the master's hand. Now the children understand. This time we take a stand. Is it freedom or freedom?